So this is a bit of a grail title for me. I've been working over the past several months, I guess 6 months or so, to finish collecting all of the Great Battles of History series. I actually only had a couple of them, um, as little as 6 months ago. I had SPQR. I had the new version of Alexander that came out a year or two ago, um, and that, and I had Hoplite. I think that was it. SPQR, Alexander, and Hoplite, which are, SPQR and Alexander are kind of the two cornerstones of that series. They're certainly the ones that have the most battles. They're the ones that have the most battles that have been added in issues of C3I, and frequently the most played. But I was interested in, I'm sort of a completionist, if you can't tell. But this series, I had thought, there's so many of them, it's just going to be a total money sink, and I'll never, get around to playing a lot of these. But naturally, my mood changed on a whim, and I started kind of hunting them down in the interest of I wanted to play Samurai, and I had not really had much interest in ancient Far Eastern warfare, but for some reason Samurai, I started reading about it and got kind of interested in it, and Devil's Horseman was another one that I wanted to look at, which has the Mongol combat, as well as War Galley. I wanted a good naval Ancients naval game, and so in the interest of getting those titles, I just thought, well, let's just try and take a run at all of them. Most of them can be found fairly cheaply. They're not super rare. There's a couple titles that are a little harder to find, at least hard to find at a decent price. Caesar and Alexandria, not a very common one. That really, aside from that one and this one here, Cataphract, and this is easily the hardest to find aside from the SPQR Deluxe Edition. That one fetches a hefty price, but I think not so much because of rarity, but because that is the one to play really in the series. That's where a lot of people start in the series. So, but here, this is Cataphract. This one is just plain old hard to find. It's not a frequently gamed topic. That's why it appeals to me the most. This is late Roman Empire. You're looking at 500 AD, so this is after Constantine and Constantinople. So very late Roman Empire. In fact, as you can see here, it says the reconquest of the Roman Empire. So this is a infrequently gamed topic, which is one of the reasons that really appealed to me. But this is a title that's almost impossible to find for under $100. I mean, if you're looking for Cataphract, and it's on the P500 reprint list for GMT, which means someday they will reprint it. But it's been on there for 5 years at least, and I can't imagine them reprinting it in the next 5 years, frankly. So if it does get reprinted, I think it'll be a minor miracle. It is just not a popular enough title for GMT to really make the investment in it. So anyway, I finally found a copy, and this rounded out my Great Battles of History collection. Actually, I still need to get Chariots of Fire, but I've got a good line on that locally, so I can pull the trigger on that when I'm ready. And I think once I get Chariots of Fire, that'll complete the series. So as you can see here on the cover, this is classic. This is 1999 classic clip art, Roger McGowan era, where he assembles disparate images and puts them on a cover. Nowadays, he uses typically just a single historical or game or period appropriate image. And now, you know, that's typical now. Back then, this is what you got, a collection of different images, usually from different sources. As you can see here, includes this campaign game, Justinian. You'll see more of that when I open the box. On the back, classic GMT design here, showing you the map with all of the relevant battles, and this is typical for great battles of history, of showing a map where all these battles occurred with dates, and then a lot of text. Looks like descriptions of each of the battles, an overall description there, samples of the units, and then the old GMT difficulty chart. That one actually lists some of the other titles in the great battles of history. Let's go ahead and open up the box. So we got baggies, and looks like this, I thought this was interesting. You know, well, you can see that the die does not have the numbers inked in, so you have to like do the, it's not chalk, but like a wax. You kind of rub this stick over it, and it'll stick into the grooves and fill the numbers in. So it's an uninked die, which I thought was interesting. The version that I bought came with the expansion, which is Attila, Scourge of Rome. This is, you know, the rules for that. There's a map in there, I'm sure double-sided with a couple different battles on it, and then a counter sheet in there. I won't actually take the map out and open it up, but like most of these expansions, this comes with a half counter sheet of typical GMT counters, and this came out in 2003, so a few years after the game came out, they released the expansion. So it's always nice when you can get a package deal on these. Here's the rulebook, classic GMT rulebook for this era, and it's not particularly thick. Sequence of plays on the back. Actually, last two pages are see-through IAD. There we go. 21 pages of rules in the rulebook. So it's actually a little bit thinner than, say, the SPQR rules. But as you can see here, and this is interesting, this is actually 3 columns of rules. Usually I think GMT has moved to a 2-column format, so this is a little more old school. 3 columns are reminiscent of SPI rules. And there's the playbook, even thinner than the rulebook. All of your scenario setup information and assorted special rules. And that's only 12 pages, so fairly thin. Here we've got Justinian, so this is the mini game in it that's sort of like a strategic mini game that has kind of the strategic map. And these rules are a little bit longer. And one thing I'm not sure of is if in Justinian, if you can play out tactical battles that occur within the game. I don't think you can, but it'd be cool if you could. Charts and tables, only one of these. So a little cheaper era of GMT here, where they didn't get one for each player. Counter sheets, more classic GMT counters, and I believe, yeah, Roger McGowan himself did the counter art. And he's reused all these images from his Ancients games in Commands and Colors. Counter sheet 2. Lots of colors. I think this has got some of the Justinian counters on it, and then a half sheet of markers. Some more leaders, and then here are ships I think this is for the Justinian model. And then here's the map for Justinian. And surprisingly, it's actually kind of an ugly map, but you know, just like the contrast or something is not very good on it. But it is an overall layout of the Mediterranean for the minigame of Justinian, which looks like area control. So I'll be curious to read the rules on that and see how it works. Oh, and in the back of it, you've got two of the battle maps. Looks like Teganai and Dara. Upside down, but as with most of these ancients maps, there's not a lot to look at. In fact, I probably won't, since I'm running out of time on my camera. Well, there's the one for the ships, Senegalica and Castellinium. Typical ancients, there's a river in the middle, otherwise it's all plain. So I'm about to run out of time on my camera, so that is a fairly quick look at Cataphract. Great Battles of History from GMT.